A lot of fans who are complaining, though, would be the Montreal Canadiens and Cole Caulfield. It's a very, very tough situation. I can't stress this enough because I said it so much off the top. I'm gonna have to pour it into this segment here. I don't like the Canadiens. Obviously, the rivalry with the Maple Leafs. I have my biases, but I'm gonna put my biases aside and look strictly on a hockey standpoint. And even on a hockey standpoint, it's looking really bad for the Canadiens. They sent and demoted Cole Caulfield to the AHL amid an ugly opening stretch of games for both the Canadiens and Caufield in general. He had 1 point through 10 games with the club. And he was the favorite for the Calder Trophy heading into the 2021 season, which makes it all the more surprising as to why he can't get anything clicking. And I know injuries have plagued the Montreal Canadiens. He hasn't had a steady amount of line mates this entire year. And plus, it's looking like a toxic locker room environment without their captain. They don't got a general leader. You'd think Gallagher would maybe step it up right now. He's been in that organization forever. No word out of him, no word out of the organization, the head coach, the GM. I know they called that press conference last week. There's still no successful signs coming from it. So it's just growing hotter and hotter. The tensions are growing in Montreal. And I just want to touch upon Caufield one last more. Is this the right move for the Habs? Is it the right move for Cole Caufield's development? Because he's I guess the biggest takeaways we can see from this corresponding move that we saw this morning. I'll start with you, Evan. Do you make anything of this move from the Habs? Is it the right way to go and deal with a young guy like Cole Caulfield? Because you have to be delicate with these kind of things. He's a terrific talent. We saw it in glimpses last season, especially in that playoff where he put up, and I have the numbers in front of me, 12 points during the Habs' deep run. So you got to handle this with precision. Are the Habs doing it right now?
Yeah, I think they are doing it right. Like you give Cole Caulfield a 10-game window. That 10-game window ended. He had 1 assist, no goals to show for it. And if you're the Montreal Canadiens, it's like you don't really need Cole Caulfield to play in the NHL for you right now. Like, you know you're not gonna most likely make the playoffs at this rate. Like, what's the point in keeping him in the NHL right now? Like, I personally think it's better for him to go to Laval, develop his confidence again. And he was only in Laval for like a week or two before he got called up to the NHL. And you got to keep in mind, he's still only 20 years old. So I think we're getting spoiled with the guys like Matthews and Line and McDavid who just come into the league at 18, 19 years old and they just absolutely tear it up. Like for a lot of guys, fortunately and unfortunately, it takes time. And I think for Cole Caulfield, it's the best thing that could happen. Like I hope he spends at least a month down in Laval just to get developed properly. It's just sometimes it's hard to go from college hockey where you're tearing it up, scoring 25 goals a season for the Badgers, and then you're going straight to the NHL. Like it's hard. And in terms of the whole chemistry issue, I don't think Brendan Gallagher is the right captain and the right leader to be leading the Montreal Canadiens. He, based on his play and just based on the way that his personality seems on the ice and on the bench, he doesn't seem like a guy who should be the first voice that is going to be coming out of that locker room. If anything, I'd be looking more at a guy like Jeff Petrie before I would look at a guy like Brendan Gallagher. I don't think Gallagher, and I'm not like trying to diss him, but I just don't like, based on his personality, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that is willing to be the first voice when things get tough. And yeah, it's unfortunate what's going on, but you can't like there's like I'll regurgitate, no point in keeping Cole Caulfield in the NHL right now.
No, and I agree. I think Caulfield, I think they're just sending him off from the fire. Like they're just saying, listen, man, we don't want you here. We don't want you to see this go down because there's nothing good coming out of Montreal. They're like, listen, get out of here as fast as you can, develop. We don't want to spoil any of it. Maybe even like this could be another situation. If you want to look at this angle, maybe he gets hurt. Like, what are you going to do in that situation where he's getting hurt? The team's doing garbage and he gets hurt in one of those games. Maybe you could say the same thing going down to Laval, but it's different when you're getting hurt, tearing it up rather than getting hurt and doing nothing. It's just adding insult to injury. I think that's how the old cliche has gotten proven. So I think that's the right move for the Habs and Cole Caulfield. And just speaking of Gallagher, the only reason why I mentioned Gallagher was just because of a veteran thing, loyalty ties. He's a very emotional guy. That's something you really don't want out of your captain. I think a lot of teams have learned that the hard way, seeing an emotional guy represent their squad. it's not something you want to see, especially his game style. It's you can get so many guys like that. They don't have to be captains on your team. I think Weber was the ideal captain, and I think Jeff Petrie would also be an ideal one as well. I think he has sort of those shades of Weber still left in him, and I think it's just not just a captain thing, but a guy who has to step up in the locker room. I think this is all locker room. I don't know. There's a lot of holes to fill in this Montreal Canadiens team, and I think it starts from the inside going out. So many things to pick at with the Habs. Jared, do you have anything else to add with the Montreal Canadiens, even the Cole Caufield development in the store? Because I found it quite fascinating to see a guy who was a phenom heading into the league. He's finally hitting that brick wall that almost every player in the National Hockey League hits. And I think the Habs are handling it right. Do you agree with this statement at all? And what would you make on it?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think this is the best thing that you can do for Cole Caulfield's development. I mean, this is coming from someone who, yes, I'm the farthest thing from a Montreal Canadiens fan. However, I'm a massive Cole Caulfield fan. And going into that draft, I have a ton of faith in that player. I was pretty pissed off, to be honest, when I saw he was picked by Montreal, because as someone who's not much taller than him, I really want to see him succeed in the NHL. And I think this is the best thing for him. Nothing's going right in Montreal. It's a pretty brutal situation. Why give him that to deal with? Why let him lose his confidence with a struggling team? Why not send him down to Laval, let him dominate? We've seen his shot. We saw even in the playoffs how it could work against great talent. Why don't send him down to Laval, let him dominate in Laval, get his confidence back, and we'll see if he's called back up to the NHL, or we'll see when he feels ready. But I'd say the best thing for him is just let him get his confidence back in the minors rather than in a struggling NHL lineup where he's just not producing, he's not succeeding, he's going to become harsher and more down on himself. And it's just not a good situation at all for a 20-year-old kid who's trying to find his way in a new league. So I think absolutely the best thing for him is to be sent down. I think I have no problems with that move whatsoever. To talk about Montreal's situation, well, I agree with that. I think it's definitely, like you guys were saying, it's something to do with being in the room. Yes, they lost all the big pieces. I mean, Carey Price isn't playing right now. Obviously, Shea Weber's injured. Their team in general is just in shambles, you would say. But it does start with someone needs to kind of step up. And whether it is Brendan Gallagher or someone else, someone needs to kind of step up and become a voice that even if they aren't wearing the C, they need to become that figurative C and figurative captain and someone who stands up and kind of gets the team rallied and going and back on board. Because right now, everyone, if you look at that bench, they just seem dejected. They seem out of it. No one really seems to be clicking on that team right now. And coming off of, they just went to the Stanley Cup Finals and everyone was loving playing hockey. It looks like they're miserable playing hockey right now. They don't look like they're having fun at all. And it's showing in the results on the ice. They need someone to kind of step up as a leader. And whether it is going to be a guy like, I don't know, you can name a million names, Nick Suzuki, who do you want to name? But just someone needs to kind of step up and become a leader that the whole team could rally around. And I think that's going to be the best thing for them. Hoping to become a somewhat competitive team. I doubt they're going to make the playoffs, but they need to at least be somewhat competitive after it's going all the way to the Stanley Cup final.
I mean, we expected them to be bad this year to start the year because so many injuries were plaguing their team. There's so many holes left in that squad when you compare them to that cup run that they made this past season in the playoffs. So we didn't expect great things, but I don't think we expected this bad of things. And I think it's something that's going to continue to brew in this dumpster fire of a team that is the Montreal Canadiens. And I don't want to sound like a biased here ripping on them. It's just the fact that that's what they are. There's no strong suit in the defensive end, the goaltending end, the offensive end. And when you look at a team like that, that's when you know it's on the inside, not on the outside and the players playing. I think it's something that the players have to sort out. Maybe take a page out of the Calgary Flames book. Like they lost their captain, Mark Giordano, longtime veteran with the Calgary Flames organization. Again, we were talking about it, which looks extremely surprising now. He put up a Norris winning season, what feels like ages ago, but he was at the center of their defensive core and the center of their team. He was a big anchor there. Now, no pun intended, he's an anchor down with the Seattle Kraken. But I mean, you look at how the success of the Calgary Flames is coming to fruition. They have 4 alternate captains. All of them are stepping up and they're getting voices from across the room. So many new ideas coming to play. And I think that's also contributing to why they're so dominant on the ice. I think the Montreal Canadiens have to do the same thing, implement the same tactics, and maybe you'll get some similar results because they desperately need those similar results now. And just to touch upon Cole Caufield one last time, I'll turn it over to you, Adamo. Does Cole Caufield, when he walks back into the room and gets his promotion, because I'm sure by the end of this year, he's going to get called right back up because he's not staying in Laval, no matter how much you want to argue with me. He ain't staying in Laval the entire year. despite the Montreal Canadiens struggles, who's going to be greeting him at the door and making that call up? Because is it Bergevin who's still sitting in the GM seat? Because I guess this question goes twofold. How long's Caufield staying in the minors? And how hot is the seat for Bergevin? Because I know I was saying it before, it's not looking too good for him, just like this team he's controlling right now.
I think Bergevin lost the entire season, if that's what you're trying to get at, just because it's his last year. So why would you fire him mid-season? I'd say let him maybe do the draw. I don't know when, like, his contract, I guess maybe at the end of the season. I don't know when. If I'm not mistaken, I think contracts renew on July 1st. So I think he'd handle the draft, and then free agency would be on the next GM, or he resigns because he's French speaking and they just seem to love him there for some reason. I kind of want to touch on Cole Caufield a little bit. Then we can move on because I know this is going quite a bit, but I think the biggest thing about sending Cole Caufield down, and Jared touched on it a little bit, was the confidence thing. You know, you have a young guy. It's not a good idea to yo-yo him. So I'd say this is a one-time send down, and then, you know, get your confidence back, play with your mojo. Maybe the Montreal Canadiens go on a run, because I don't think they're 2-8 bad. So maybe if they go on a little 3-game win streak, you call up this kid who's on a high, just put up 10 points in 5 games with Laval, and, you know, he's back to playing like Cole Caufield, just this time against NHL guys. I think sending down a really good player also increases your odds at the ultimate prize at the end of the season for the Montreal Canadiens, and that is Shane Wright.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was the motto?
It's happening.
What was the motto we were printing on the shirts a couple weeks ago? Oh crap,
Jared, this was you.
Jared,
it's like lose the fight for right.
No, it was. It's something like
be shite for right.
No Shane without pain, or something like. Or it's like
no Shane, no pain.
No Shane, no pain. That's
no
it.
Shane, no pain.
No, but that's
no pain, no Shane. That's
there we
go.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen too. And we're somehow gonna. Shane Wright is a lifelong Leaf fan, and I know this. I know this 100% because I've watched this kid play before at Scotiabank Arena, or Scotiabank Pond, not Scotiabank Arena. Fuck, I wish it was Scotiabank Arena. He's a lifelong Leaf fan, and he's going to end up on the Habs. And somehow they are going to twist the narrative that he was a lifelong Habs fan. It's going to happen. That's my prediction. I think the Habs are going to finish like maybe 6th or 7th last, up to 1st overall. They get right, and then they have one of the best young teams in the world.
I mean, it's with the way the season's going right now, it's more than likely a possibility. I think Habs fans are embracing that slogan. I think Jared coined as well. It's very clever.
Didn't coin it. I'm not taking credit for that. No, I found it on Twitter.
Oh, all right. No, but it's the sentiments expressed from the Montreal Canadiens fan base, and if I were in their shoes, I would totally agree. I think they're going sink and swim. If it's looking like, well, at least for Adamo's point, I have a little bit of a different opinion on it. I think Bergevin's going to get out if this stays worse. But I mean, if he's going to go sink and swim with this Montreal Canadiens team, he's definitely stinking them to the ground, because
they are a rock.
It's a dumpster fire, to say the least. And the only thing I want to touch upon for Cole Caufield before we sign off on this topic, worst situation that can happen for them. Obviously, I mentioned it before, he gets injured. That's the worst situation for any player in this league. But again, what if he doesn't dominate the HL? We know how good he is. This is definitely a possibility. We've seen guys, some players, and this is the very select few who are such high talents, go down somewhere and not dominate. I don't see this at all happening from Cole, but if you're the Montreal Canadiens, you're trying to lay out every possible option in the book, and you're hoping this one, in a horrible and unlucky season for them, isn't one that hits for them as well. So that's all I want to say upon Cole Caufield. We're not going to hear too much of his name anymore, because once you hit the AHL, you're not getting as much recognition here, especially in Toronto, when we're all Leaf fans and don't care at all. And we're grieving.
The Marlies. Do you think they play the Marlies anytime soon?
Laval? That'd be a nice game to go to.
I would strongly consider it. Oh man, it's getting Googled now. We're going straight to Ticketmaster. What the hell? Can't write any of this.
Go grab a $20 ticket for the Marlies.
Actually, have
Nick Robertson.
Oh my God, they literally do. November 17th.
Mark the calendars.
That's the next Marlies game.